very often anymore.
This is a regular one, so all rise, pledge of allegiance, moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence. Alrighty, to work we go. First item, request for approval of Amendment 10 to IGA 185806 and authorize Dr. Lynch to sign.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Lynch, you got shorter.
Good morning, I am Dr. Lynch. Just kidding,
And better
Tim is
looking.
out sick this morning, so you get me. So this IGA is just our normal allocation for 2026, 2027. It's the second half of the biennium. No changes, it's the same.
Mr. Chair, move to approve 10th Amendment to Intergovernmental Agreement number 185806 with Oregon Health Authority. Authorize Interim Director Tim Lynch to sign.
Second,
Motion and a second, discussion.
No, sir?
I would point out, for those in the audience, it's $3.5 million, which is a significant increase over what Coos Health and Wellness received in times past, and also that Coos Health and Wellness is funded solely by really federal dollars that come down through the state. They don't use any county property tax money whatsoever. It doesn't mean you're not using tax money. It's just not local tax money.
Alrighty. Public, anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to the next one. It's request approval of revised job description for integrated care manager. You're still up, man.
Thank you. So we are just adding a couple extra duties to this description, including that the healthcare outreach specialist is now supervised by our integrated manager. And so that is part of the reason for the request. It just adds that part in, but there is no change in terms of pay or anything like that. So just requesting to update the job description.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the revised and updated non-union integrated care manager job description to reflect the position's scope of work and responsibilities.
Second,
Motion and a second, discussion. And in the audience? Yes, sir? Specific to this item.
Well, actually, I kind of missed the too quick on the first item there. My question was, is all this health and welfare available to everybody equally, rich or poor, or is this just to a select group of people?
Health and wellness is about a third of the county who is on OHP.
Yeah, but under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, the government can't give anything to anybody unless they offer it to everybody equally.
Yeah, that
Please
would be for the courts.
Yeah, explain, well, how you...
We're not a court. The decision on the Constitution is delegated to the judicial branch.
In other words, you guys just, even though you swore to uphold the Constitution as your oath of office, you just kind of sidestep these issues.
Judicial branch decided this is lawful. Alrighty. And further discussion. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And who do we have next? There we are. Yep, C got
is
pulled,
pulled.
so request approval to hire Zachary Schrock at step 3.
Yes, so we are really excited for the opportunity to hire Zach. He comes to us licensed, which is very rare these days. He comes with also a lot of background in crisis work. He was in the military and just brings a bunch of skill set to our group. And we're hoping to hire him at a higher step so that we can bring him on board.
I move we approve to start new hire Zachary Schrock at step 3 of pay grade 465 for the position of mental health specialist 2.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Further discussion in the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Next one, request approval to
great
declare.
day.
declare equipment as surplus and approve disposal. Roads. Morning, Paul.
Morning, Paul. Hi, Paul.
So we've got 8 items that we'd like to declare surplus and put on public surplus to be auctioned off. 3 of them are vehicles, and then there's 5 smaller things. One of which is a old military generator on a trailer. That number 8 there, the genset.
Mr. Chair, move to approve to dispose of the above list of surplus property.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Discussion amongst public. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And
I have a late agenda
you,
item.
yep, you have a late item.
We have an employee who's been out on extended leave for a medical issue, and I already approved the 2-week leave of absence that I could. So we're asking the board to approve some additional days of unpaid leave to get him through July 12th. He's expected to return to work on the 13th.
I move we approve a written request for unpaid leave of absence for circumstances beyond an employee's control.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. In public. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one, request approval of reclassification for CVA employees.
Morning, Caroline.
Lauren?
Morning.
Good morning. On June 5th, 2026, the Board of Commissioners met in a work session to discuss the crime victims assistant position. And as a result of that, a decision was made to approve an upgrade for the position to pay grade 742 as shown in the attached document. And we would like to make this effective July 1, 2026, and this will affect 2 employees, which is labeled under Payroll Resolution 2606-089P.
Mr. Chair, move to approve pay grade 742 as shown and approve reclass of the crime victims assistant position to pay grade 742 effective July 1st, 2026. Also request approval that the board sign payroll resolution 2606-089P for the 2 CVA employees affected by this change.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Those ladies in CVA, they work really hard, a lot of extra hours, evening and weekend time, just like Caroline.
Might mention what CVA stands for.
That's a Crime Victims Assistance, and they perform a crucial role to help victims of crime navigate the complexities of the legal system to realize the greatest possible benefit to themselves. And those ladies, they see a lot of difficult things and deal with a lot of emotional burden and trauma. And we're grateful for their service and very pleased to be able to help them be better compensated for that position, more comparably compensated, I should say. This just barely brings them to par, and so it's the least we could do.
And I would agree the secondhand trauma associated with jobs like this is significant. And I know
Indeed.
in talking with our DA, she recognizes that and has pursued methods to be
Yep.
able to get these folks debriefs and such. So
Yep.
appreciate her moves on that. From the public, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Then we have request approval of TOPS agreement with Weyerhaeuser. Morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
Hope you guys are doing well.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just that, this is the 5th year for this contract, 100% paid for a deputy for timber patrol through Weyerhaeuser. It's a 2-year contract and totals $150,328. Includes everything, overtime, fuel, the whole 9 yards.
I move we approve and sign the attached contract and agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Gabe, does this include, is this just our out-of-pocket cost for this employee, or do you know whether this includes the extra, what we call overhead for the extra burden that it puts on payroll and everything?
The loaded cost.
No, I don't
is-
believe it includes the loaded.
It would be close.
Yeah.
Because I think the loaded for your top step right now is about, the last time it was 157. I'm sure it's 160 or so now.
Which would make sense. 'cause
But
it's
the bottom step was like 117 to 120.
Really close.
So
Yeah, it is
it's,
close.
yeah, it's in the middle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe we could take a look at that. I wouldn't
Here
change
comes
it.
Madam
Oh, no.
Treasurer to address the question.
Dun, 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 dun,
All the big
dun.
guns.
So it includes, I believe, it includes the loaded payroll cost for wages and benefits. But John, are you talking about
Cost
the
allocation.
cost of administering the program, like
Yes.
Payroll, paying the
there's-
bills.
Yeah, we provide,
et cetera?
we have centralized, for those that in the audience, we have centralized payroll and safety and maintenance and all kinds of things that we do rather than having each department provide their own such services. And that's kind of a part of our cost. It definitely is a part of our cost. And I think it's appropriate to recover that. I don't think there's anything that should prevent our doing it other than someone saying, no, we can't afford to pay that.
Like a 10% administrative rate.
Something like that, whatever it is. It's something we could, if,
We can explore it and see. what
I
it's
would leave, I don't want to change this, but I just
Yeah.
think looking ahead, we should try to recover those costs as well.
And we've been talking to Matt Smith, thank you. We've been talking to Matt Smith about some various, I know, I talked to you
Yeah.
last week, options for similar and different contracts, so we can load that into the
You can add up
conversation.
to a little bit and it'll help,
Yes, sir.
so, thank you.
I'll try to figure that out.
So, do we have a motion?
We did,
We
yeah.
did.
We're in discussion. And if you didn't have more, we'd look to the public. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. One more, request approval of modification 4 to agreement 20-LE 110612000-003 with USDA Siuslaw National Forest.
Yes, sir, just that, it's an increase of $28,600.
Mr. Chair, move to approve and have the sheriff and the board sign law enforcement agreement number 20LE 11061200-003 modification 4.
Second.
Motion in the second, discussion. Amongst the public?
And this is for patrol in the dunes, is that correct? Jenna?
Siuslaw National Forest.
Siuslaw's,
Yes.
The
Powers, isn't
north end of the dunes.
oh, it's just
Yeah.
uses powers.
It's Powers. I'll have to get back to you on Commissioner.
Siuslaw, you're right, it's.
Yeah. North dunes.
I was thinking of the Siskiyous.
I believe that's correct.
Again, I
just don't wanna
think-
get it wrong info.
Looking ahead, that if we have to try to include our fully loaded cost, including administrative costs, as we negotiate these contracts in the coming years.
Copy.
And it may be already done, I can't tell, but just by looking at the number.
I'll have to look into it, yeah. This is
Squeeze
a
more blood out of that turnip, Sheriff.
I think he is.
I'd be concerned about putting the contracts into jeopardy, but Matt Smith will know if that's
Yeah.
a concern.
Okay. Public. Alrighty. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now the last one. Da-da-da-da. Request approval of resolution making an additional appropriation.
Yes, so this is the, a couple weeks ago, requested approval to sell a vehicle that isn't suitable for patrol, is the one that was left over from LNG, the big old F-250, it's just a big brick for patrol purposes. So now now it's the new fiscal year, looking for appropriations into this line item. 42121-01 minor repairs and maintenance, which will allow us to use some of that recaptured money to make modifications necessary for the building across the street we're hoping to move into.
Mr. Chair, move to approve Resolution 2607098B appropriating the amount of $18,000 into Coos County Sheriff's Office, line item 421.21-01.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion. Glad we can help you work on getting elbow room over there.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. That'd be so nice.
Public, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
That's it. Yay.
Next one, request approval of amendment
Thanks,
number 4 to contract with Cardinal Services.
Oh, welcome back.
Yep. Ta-da.
So we actually have a contract in place with all three temp agencies. Cardinal Services just rolls over each year, automatically renews, but this year they did reach out and say that they would like to impose a small increase for 3 of the worker comp codes that we hire temp employees under, 7842, 8810, and 8832, as set out on the attached exhibit. What did I call it? 1. So request board to approve and sign contract amendment with Cardinal Services Incorporated for temporary staffing services.
Mr. Chair, move to approve and sign the contract amendment with Cardinal Services Incorporated for temporary staffing services.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion.
So,
I take the other side of the story. Make sure we don't include their administrative costs.
Somehow I think we do.
I'm sure we do.
so that's a malleable principle then, I guess.
Very.
Yeah, all right.
Did you have something, Rob?
Yeah, I was just wondering, we didn't actually get the contract attachment here. I was wondering what the net increase is.
It's like 2%
Okay.
for all 3.
Did they hit us for this last year as well, or did it just roll as it was last year?
They haven't increased it in 2 years, so
Okay,
No.
all right. Thank you.
2% after 2 years ain't bad. From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And next one. Next one's council, it says, but approval of collective bargaining agreement with CADS.
I can do it.
Okay.
Thank you, Caroline.
All right, so the current collective bargaining agreement with the Coos Association of Deputy Sheriffs expired on June 30, 2026. HR and Council's office negotiated with the CADS union, and now we have an agreement. So request the board approve and sign the collective bargaining agreement with CADS dated July 1, 2026 to expire June 30th, 2029.
Mr. Chair, move to approve and sign the collective bargaining agreement with CADS dated July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Well, I'd like to express appreciation to Caroline and Colton, even though he's not here, for their work with CADS and the other unions. I feel like they were able to negotiate and strike a pretty reasonable deal. But of course, any discussion of public employee union situations would not be complete without me expressing my disdain for the concept of public employee unions, which should not exist in the United States of America because they run counter to the public good, in my view. Not to take one single thing away from our valuable, hardworking, and much appreciated employees who belong to those unions. I just think that we should have a direct relationship rather than a union one. But that being as it is, it's beyond my power to change that, so here we are.
And public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks, Caroline.
Next one, payment of SCDC dues. That is the South Coast Development Council, and it's got my name on it. This is a request to pay our annual dues to the SCDC, which helps bring in traded sector businesses over the course of the last year. Some of the things just that I've worked with them on have been company that wants to bring in industrial scale seaweed development out here that turns into cattle feed that's more beneficial for the cattle. They're still working on that one. Unfortunately, there was something they were bringing in with Bunker Hill. We had a good relationship going for that, but changes at the federal level killed that one. They've been working with City of Powers, bringing them kind of into the fold with a broader economics design of the county, meeting with Myrtle Point, talking with the different cities, and been a great asset coordinating with businesses and getting information on the sectors at hand, including some stuff around hydrogen and other items. I know we've all had our own work with them.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve payment of SCDC dues in the amount of $12,000.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion?
Yes, I'd like to explain to the public a little bit how SCDC works and what we had prior to SCDC, which I think has been in existence for probably 25 years or more now. At one time, each of the cities, if they had the funds, would have their own economic development official, as did the county. Sometimes they worked together, sometimes they worked at odds with one another. Sometimes the cities or the county couldn't afford them, and there was no one to respond to requests for information regarding citing businesses here and helping them through the planning process and whatever economic development people do. SCDC is a result of people recognizing that this multiple entity approach didn't work. So instead of each entity having their own economic development organization, the cities, the county, businesses that benefit from economic development all pitched in and contributed toward the funding of this organization called SCDC, South Coast Development Corporation, I think.
Council.
And
It used to be
council.
corporation.
And it's much more efficient. It works. We don't always hit home runs, but they are always there to respond to inquiries. And every once in a while, we get a business. A prime example of a business I was personally involved with, and I know would not be here were it not for SCDC, is GMA Garnett, which is located on the waterfront in the Upper Bay, and they bring in shiploads of garnet shards that come from South Africa and from Australia. And they're brought here and they're processed and graded and put in huge tote bags and shipped out to people who use them for sandblasting and waterjet cutting throughout a large part of the United States. And it's a business that came here very quietly, pays living wages. I think they've moved from one shift to two shifts. And they're just sitting here quietly doing their thing. And I know because I was involved, and we would not have them here were it not for SCDC. In my view, they pay for themselves many times over each time something like this happens. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen very often. But yeah, I think they're a good organization, and that they're for us to have this service available. for a cost of to us, the county, of $1,000 a month is a real bargain.
Seems like a good utilization of taxpayer resources.
Well, it's
That-
economic development
Right.
funds
Yeah.
that we get from the state. So once more, it is not paid for by local property taxes.
Right.
Righty. Discussion in the public on this one. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next one is request approval to pay dues to Association of Association of O&C counties.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, as we know, and I'll touch again for the benefit of the public, the Association of O&C Counties negotiates the benefit of the 13 O&C counties, or the counties that benefit from the Oregon and California Railroad timberlands. And it's particularly pleasurable to think about paying these dues this year because of the successes that have been realized and the increases in O&C harvest, as well as the increased percentage of payout on those harvests that we anticipate this year and in the coming years, thanks to adjustments due to the president's executive order, as well as the hard work and litigation of the AOCC. And so we're I move to pay these AOCC dues in the amount of $33,529.38.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Appreciate all the work you've done on this one.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, we do. I'd like to be a little more specific than Rod was. For years and years, we've struggled to get more timber harvest from the 2.5 million acres of Oregon and California Railroad lands that are administered by the BLM. In years past, they have harvested as much as 1 billion board feet a year, which is the sustainable level of growth in the O&C lands. Due to a lot of environmental concerns, harvest had dropped to somewhere in the under 200 million board feet a year. Recently, that has been increased to the point I think we're going to approach 300 million feet a year here shortly, with further increases planned beyond the next year or two. The big deal is that we had been getting 50% of the harvest proceeds. Starting next year, that will increase to 75%, which going from 50 to 75 represents a 50% increase in revenues for the county. And Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to approach almost $1 million of new revenue from the O&C lands. So this is an organization that has worked long and hard and are finally getting some success, and definitely we should support them.
Ready. Discussion from the public. Jim, you had something?
That's really good news.
Yep.
Thank you. We like it, Jim.
Yeah.
We really have. And they're working on a new management plan that will further increase harvest potentially beyond the 300 to 400 million board feet a year.
I think
Right.
the original 1930s agreement was 500 million minimum, right?
Minimum.
Yeah,
So we're
the-
getting closer.
Yeah, actually, the 1937 O&C Act that Congress passed stipulated a minimum harvest of 500 million board feet annually, and until sustainability was established. And since that time, in the intervening decades, that level has been established at 1.2 billion board feet a year that grows on the O&C lands. And so it's been such a travesty to see that under-harvested, and the addition of fire fuel that incurs across those lands. So it's really, really encouraging to see this expansion.
John, you had checked with the mills, hadn't you? About capacity. I know at the national level they discussed mill concerns around capacity, but that's mostly, I believe, the South that has that issue.
There's ongoing concern that
I'm going to get you, Phil.
the size of this timber, it's been allowed to grow to, typically
You can move up if
lands
you want.
are being harvested on a 40 to 50-year rotation, and the result is that, that's a pretty good sized log for 40 or 50 years. And the mills have retooled to more effectively and efficiently convert that size log to lumber. The feeling is, common wisdom is that, well, there's no
if you wanna sit
demand
while you wait,
anymore
it's
for
okay.
these bigger trees. That is not so. There are veneer plants that can still peel those trees. Yes, there are fewer sawmills than there used to be that can saw those trees into lumber, but there are still, here in this county, we have 2 mills, one in Bandon called Oregon Overseas, and one here between Coquille and Myrtle Point called East Fork Lumber Company. They're not big mills, but they can still use those logs. In the Roseburg area, there's a couple of mills that can do that. In Cottage Grove, there's a mill that can do that. And then a very large producer, Sierra Pacific, bought a big lumber company here in Oregon. They heretofore had been largely in California. And they're converting the mill they bought, formerly a Seneca Lumber Company, to they're creating a new mill. And it will be a cutting mill, so it'll be able to cut these big trees for grade and get bigger beams and architectural items out of the log that you don't get out of the small logs, which are normally 2x4s and 2x6s. So yeah, there is going to be need. In fact, if we don't increase the harvest of big timber, I think some little mills will probably end up not being able to survive.
Phil?
Phil Thompson, Coos Bay. I think first, John, before we start cutting all the trees down again, and I'm for logging, greed is what put us here to start with. We had the big timber companies, Weyerhaeuser, GP, and all of them. They still got all that timber they've cut down, buried over in Japan in the mud. They haven't even cut all that up yet. And they were selling their private timber because they couldn't export the public, and they was replacing their timber that they were exporting with the national forest. So they got, I think, out of hand in that stuff. And like I said, the greed is what's doing it. And right now, we're going to go back, maybe the BLM's going to cut some timber and stuff. But I think that's all right. I agree with that. But what I don't agree with, that we've got a board here, and some Val Hull especially, that wants to give, and I say give, and anything that you own or you got possession of or you got the authority to do, you let somebody else have it, you give. And I say that to you, Mr. Farmer.
It's not true, but okay.
So You guys want to let the tribe manage that 60-some thousand acres up there to get a little money back. I've never understood that, because anything can happen. What if they say, well, we ain't going to log anymore? You've actually lost the tax money you were getting. There's a lot of ifs there, and I'm not through with it yet. Miss Hole's going to hear from me again.
Neither are we.
Huh?
Neither are we through with it, so that's good.
So anyway, that's my feelings. I hope the federal government, the BLM and stuff, starts logging, and we don't give the stuff to the tribe. It belongs to everyone, not a little segment of the people and stuff. That's my problem.
Yep. Thank you. Well, I appreciate the perspective, because the discussion will help us reach a result that is more comprehensive. It does bear clarifying. Right now, the federal government owns that land under Department of the Interior, under BLM. If what Hoyle has proposed happens, it would go to the Department of Indian Affairs, which is still under the Department of the Interior, still belonging to the federal government. And the proposal is a co-management, not them having it solely. Jim, if you would like to.
Mr. Chair, real quick, I just interject that
Very slightly, of course.
those concerns are exactly what an agreement is for,
Yeah.
a contract,
What
which
contracts
which
do.
we haven't entered into yet, but we have unanimity on this board that that contract will protect harvest levels and certain other aspects of that arrangement that will be beneficial to the taxpayers of Coos County, which is our responsibility.
Yep.
Thank you.
Jim Bennett Band, and I know I was already long-winded there, but just a comment and a question. You know, the indigenous people, the Indians, they're like proxies for the Fed. You know, it's a relationship of convenience, mostly the Feds. You know, so they operate in proxy through the Indians. They don't care about them. But forgive my ignorance, but can you explain to us, aesthetically, with all of the open space we have, why is the logging, and I know that access to the road must be a factor, but why is all the logging happening where we have to look at it, like at the top of Whiskey Run and along, with all the open space we have, why does it have to be right there in front of us with the glyphosate being treated right near people? And I don't understand. If you could explain it, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
We have time
go
to
for
do
it.
this? You're talking about the county forest now, largely. We used to not be, we didn't own anything along the highway because the highway didn't go where our forest was. And we have some 18,000 acres of timber. In years past, the county forester and the county commissioners have chosen to harvest more where it's out of sight. What we have left, unfortunately, is largely visible from public roads. And we depend on the profits from the harvest of our timber, which run about $3 million a year, to help fund the county. To show you how important that $3 million is, we get somewhere between $6 and $7 million each year in property tax revenue. So were it not for the forest, we would either have to have higher taxes, or we would have to do with less governmental services. And we're down right now to where we're having a hard time with our current budget to provide adequate services, the services we're supposed to provide. So our county forest is very important to us. We harvest on a sustained yield basis. We have a 43-year rotation. Of the 18,000 acres we have, about 53 about 15,000 acres are harvestable. The other acreage is along streams or it's too steep or whatever, and we can't harvest it. So if you divide a 43-year rotation into, or divide 43 into 15,000, you'll come out with a number of something that I think is about 348 acres a year is our sustainable harvestable acreage. We round that to 350. There's a little slack. But so that's what we're doing. And unfortunately, we are not able to harvest in areas that are not visible. So we're doing that. Things that have been harvested starting since the end of last fall when we couldn't burn or couldn't, well, anyway, anything that's been harvested since last September or October up to this September or October will be replanted again in December and January. So we don't waste any time whatsoever in replanting our harvested ground. And it's sustainable mathematically. Again, do the math. 18,000 acres, total forest, owned by the county. Roughly 3,000 of that, 2,500, 3,000 is not harvestable. And again, because we're protecting streams and steep slopes, which would wash away if we were to harvest. And you'll end up with a number that's very, very close to 350 acres a year is what we harvest. Now, when I say we harvest that, we sell that many acres, the harvest rights to that many acres each year. The purchaser, it's all an open bid and competitive bid, and whoever buys it has 3 years during which to complete the harvest. If they don't harvest, if they harvest, they pay us out of the proceeds of their, the stumpage we call it. If they don't harvest in the first year or the second year, they have to harvest in third, but in that first and second year, they make progress payments. So we're still getting revenue, even though the trees aren't being harvested. So unfortunately, part of it is where you can see it. And as you will know, people have moved out of the town, out into the country. And so what used to be kind of removed from population is now often close to population. That's the best I can do to answer.
I'd like to add an addendum to that. I like to take the Rush Limbaugh approach to the visibility of harvest areas, and that is that's actually a beautiful site because those are not those are working forest lands. It's a productive area that generates a tremendous amount of very important revenue for the county. It creates jobs in the private sector. It allows for the creation of all kinds of beautiful things out of wood, like houses and, well, they don't make baseball bats out of Doug fir, but it's a very important part of our economic engine. And so while it is beautiful to look at a mountainside full of gorgeous trees, we do have an ample supply of those all around, and that moves. It's always migrating around over decades. But I prefer to look at it as a beautiful site because of the economic engine that it indicates.
I would also say that none of the timber from our county forest is exported, none of the trees. The same is true of anything coming off the ONC lands that we talked about. It cannot, by law, be exported, nor can timber cut from state lands be exported. So virtually all this timber is manufactured here in the United States, and almost all right here in Coos County, that which comes off our county forests.
It ain't pretty, but a family was able to feed themselves.
There's a lot of jobs. come from that.
All righty.
Ready for a vote?
Any further? Yep.
Tim Pierce, Bandon, Oregon. I'm actually not have no problem with the logging like that, but what I would like to see is something done a little bit different to all this private timber land. They get a very, very beautiful tax break on this in the name of jobs. I think if they take the trees down and export them, they should have to pay back taxes because there's no jobs generated from it. The real money is in the milling. You see, they're getting away with something here that, you know, it's the reason they're getting the tax break is in the name of jobs. But if they saw the trees down and export them to China or God knows where, all these jobs don't occur. And so I think maybe we ought to relook at that particular situation. That's been something that's kind of bothered me for decades about
Well,
this.
the Constitution doesn't allow it. Check it out.
Does it really?
Well,
not.
it does
Okay.
and it doesn't because
Now,
you guys are a
yeah.
taxing body.
We might be going down a rabbit hole.
You check it
Anyway,
out. You know
it's
all
just
about the
something to think
Constitution,
about,
you
you
know?
It's an interesting idea.
Because it is a big con that Weyerhaeuser and all these other people are literally, you know, getting away with something that maybe, you know, the intent was the jobs. Anyway, thank you for
Check it
letting me
out.
put my 2 bits worth in on that.
All right, of course.
It's worth 10 cents because it's not right.
Uh-oh.
like to say one more thing since you said anybody.
I think we already had yours, Phil.
Get 'em, Bill.
No,
We do need to keep her moving.
Mr. Taylor, I said everything's in the contract. Well, you know, when I came to work for Weyerhaeuser in 63, whatever it was, Weyerhaeuser was promising everybody if you'd go to work for them. I'm telling you this.
Yeah.
I didn't show up twice. The third time I went to work for them after all the goodies they promised and stuff, you know. They said, you know, you work, keep your nose clean, you've got a job forever. Right here, because we can grow trees faster than we can cut them. That didn't last very long. About 10 years, they was just shipping them trees out for, I mean, the
What year
ships
was
were in
that?
here like crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And then, so then they started on the national forest.
Uh-huh.
And John says everything's marked. It's not export, but they got ways to get it. You buy it, it's yours after you buy it. Most of things by law. I'm sure they got ways already figured out that people's going to buy it and sell it for export. Them longshoremen's not going to do without jobs.
No.
And so,
I can tell you, Phil, that if you export your logs, you're not able to buy federal timber.
yeah, but you don't have to buy it one time. So if you buy it and you decide, well, I'm going to sell it later, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, you got, hey, this whole country is fraud. Really. We got, right now, this country's in one of the biggest crooked fraud things I think
Phil,
I've
we're
ever
going
seen in
off
my
course.
life.
We should get this wrapped up real quick.
Okay.
I appreciate
Anyway,
it, though.
thank you. I'm against what I said.
It does need to be specific to this item. We
Yes.
got public comment at the end. You got something for this item?
Yes, I just had a quick question. Has there been a bill introduced in Congress regarding the wagon road yet?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to hear a late agenda item, please.
Oh, we have late agenda items.
We were gonna get this one because it's related to the AOCC if we could.
Oh, I see. I second that motion.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. What do we got?
This is a second billing from the AOCC. This one is a litigation assessment that is litigation costs that are not covered under the basic AOCC budget. And this is an invoice in the amount of $10,533.21. And I would make a motion that we authorize payment of this invoice dated 6/29/26.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
The invoice is in the amount of $10,533 for everyone's information. And again, the results we've been getting, I feel this is a very good investment.
Now, I'd like to clarify that the actual assessment per the formula for Coos County would be $8,850, except that we have two counties that are part of the, they are among the counties that benefit from the ONC lands, but they do not participate in the AOCC. And so that encumbers a greater burden on the rest of us who do involve ourselves in AOCC. And so the pickup cost for the non-participating counties, our portion of that pickup cost is $1,683.21. So unfortunately, if we could get, Josephine and what's the other one?
Benton and
Benton.
Multnomah.
Josephine's
Yeah, oh yeah,
the worst.
and
Yeah,
Multnomah.
Josephine being by far the
Yeah,
worst at
yeah.
18,000, Benton 4,000, Multnomah
Right.
under 2.
Oh yeah, there it is.
There's
It's
no
on the
harvest
list.
in
Yeah.
Multnomah.
Yeah, it's,
There's just land.
Yeah. So they don't really care, but Josephine really should be participating. Anyway, maybe we can work that out in the future.
I think
So
they just had a total wipe of their commission.
they
didn't
did indeed. Yeah, it's a interesting situation over there.
Yeah, we'll catch up to them when.
Yeah.
Well, you can't blame
Well,
these
those
ones.
are the
None of them
guys
have
that
been
are
there.
gone. So you know.
All right, anyway. Discussion, we had it. Discussion in the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we come back to the late item. We bounced around a hair. We are at discussion of management of courthouse north door lock, I believe.
Or are we not doing 3A?
Did I? What did I do? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I was moving to late before I go to
So
that.
we
I
need
think
to-
we have to
Yeah, we-
adjourn this,
Yeah.
recess this. Thank you.
And yeah.
So we will recess the regular commission meeting and reopen as the Library Service District governing body to approve a contract for services fiscal year 2026, 2027.
So Colton usually does this. He asked me to do it in his absence. This is our annual contract with all of the libraries in the county and the ESO to pay the ESO and distribute the rest of the property tax money to the local libraries.
I move we approve and sign the contract for library services for fiscal year 2026-27.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. And public. Libraries can be contentious, more so than you might expect.
Only when you're talking about distribution.
Fair enough. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I will, do I get to adjourn this one? I will adjourn the Library Service District governing body and reopen the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners. And we had a late agenda item, and now I've misplaced all of my there it is. That was the management of courthouse north door lock. Alrighty. And I think we're gonna need somebody from state courts as well, and probably maintenance and all of the excitement for a door.
Now two.
Now 2 doors?
Now two.
2 doors down? Anyway,
More to come. We have
Excellent.
lots of doors.
So
Good
good
morning.
morning, commissioners.
Yep. Good morning, Darius.
There's several items to think about here, and so I wrote down some notes. I actually typed them so that I could read them. Please excuse me if I pause to refer back to them.
Oh, yeah.
Some background on this, when the fencing project was proposed several months ago, Kyla and I were kind of going over what likely would happen and what needed to happen. And Kyla and I identified the north door between elections and the clerk's office. We would need to replace the employee door in the back courtyard of the courthouse, and that north door was probably our best option. At the time, I specifically told Kyla we need to put a lock into the county system. It'd be great if state courts could fund that, but if not, we'll have to, between the two of us or with your help, we'd have to find the funding to add that lock. Last week, it was brought to my attention that state courts, and I saw the trucks, I knew they were there doing cameras, but what I also found out was they were installing some locks on doors, on a door. I went and checked on it and found out they were in fact putting that on, but they were connecting it to their lock system. I tried to reach Drew, none of you guys were available at the time, so I spoke with Colton. Colton indicated, and he's not here, so I apologize, but indicated he wasn't aware of it. We eventually got a hold of Drew. Drew indicated me he wasn't aware of them taking over control of that lock. And then later on, I think the next day, I spoke to Kyla, and she can explain to you, because she's here, she can explain to you what she knew about it. So I was concerned, I expressed I was concerned to Drew. We kind of put the thing on hold, and kind of here we are. I have some concerns I'd like to share with you guys. Part of the thing is that currently the county is responsible for control of the courthouse building. The sheriff's office provides security personnel for interior of the building. Coke Hill PD provides security for outside of the building. Maintenance has always managed the locks, and several years ago, county IT took over responsible for the responsibility for managing the electronic locks on the doors, including the exterior doors. State courts has their own electronic locks that they use to manage their offices and courthouse, and that's worked fine. I am concerned. I think Kyla and I looked at our emails. We don't see where the county was ever provided a statement of work on what exactly was going to be installed and who was going to be responsible for what. And I think that's really where this miscommunication came from. I know if I'd have seen it, if I'd have been included in any conversations, I would have definitely expressed those concerns and brought those to you. I have some concerns. If we turn over control to the exterior access, it's going to create some confusion. If there's somebody inside, if the doors malfunction, or there's somebody inside the courthouse after hours, Coke Hill PD is probably going to call Allen, or the sheriff's department will probably call Allen. Then we'll have to try to coordinate that after hours with somebody within the state court system. If they need to be repaired, we're going to have to rely on them to bring out the vendor of their choice, and we'll have to follow that timeline of however long it takes them, as opposed to us being able to find a local provider that can do it quicker. Maybe not our preferred provider. Let's see. I'm concerned about the fact that you guys weren't aware of this. I think transferring responsibility for security is a pretty big issue. I believe you guys need to think about it, which is why I kind of put a stop on it. I believe this is just a simple miscommunication. I think the absence of a statement of work probably made it easier for this to happen. My personal recommendation is that you guys make a decision to keep that access control within the county. I have a quote. We do have the ability to do that. I fully appreciate that state courts purchased equipment and created contracts with their vendor to install it. But unfortunately, I feel like that was done without proper authorization from the Board of Commissioners.
What is the quote?
Sorry, and the part I didn't add was that I found out through this process that they had also decided to manage the access control on the front lobby doors. When I requested a quote for just the side door to add it to our existing system, it was roughly $4,500. Because I didn't find out until later that the front doors were also included, I didn't have an opportunity to get a quote on that. So I don't have that for you.
But do we know whether state courts has a predilection to not fund that installation if the lock is not under their control?
We can probably just move down the line because
Yeah.
courts is next.
Mr. Langford is joined with us remotely. He'll respond probably.
All right, very good. Hello, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Chair, Commissioner Sweet, Commissioner Taylor. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm not able to be there in person. I apologize for my video attendance, as I would much prefer to be there in person. If you can recall, several months ago, Kyla and I came before the board with the sheriff to discuss the camera integrations along with the front door. The front door was discussed with integrating and adding a door access system to the front door that would be on a timer
Thomas,
to
we're not hearing you
avoid.
very well. Can you move closer to your microphone or?
Yeah, not a problem. How's that? Is that any better?
That's better. Val, can you
All
back
right.
away so we can see the picture?
You want me to-
Not so close and just talk more loudly?
Only if you do, John.
Thank you.
So several months back, we met with the BOC to discuss the front entry door, adding a timer lock system to that door, along with the integration of the cameras and adding duress systems to county offices to integrate all the duress systems into a single duress system. In those discussions, we did discuss the front entry door. So unfortunately, the recollection that Darris has related to the front door is inaccurate because the front door was discussed at that time. We left that meeting, we met at the main lobby of the courthouse, and Darris was part of that conversation as well. In that conversation, I was asked if the courts could actually pay for the costs for the county to have access readers. And unfortunately, at that time, I said no. We can't cover those costs. The special project money that's associated with this project requires that the equipment that's installed is owned and controlled by state courts. So we had that discussion about the side door, knowing that the fencing project was coming later. And so we knew that the side door needed to be added, and we asked for that to be part of the scope of work concept and project. I do acknowledge that wasn't shared with Darris, but Darris also said he didn't need to be included in those further discussions. The BOC also set us loose to go and get this project taken care of, if you can recall. The cost of the front door and the side door is $15,000 right now. States courts has the money to pay for those costs. If we were to shift this over, those costs would need to be paid by the county, and I would invoice the county for those items. I will tell you and share with the board that it doesn't really matter to state courts if the county has control of these or if state courts has control of these. Fundamentally, the door access system doesn't change. And so if the county needs to be added to that system in terms of adding users, we would simply add users to that door. Access to that door has not fundamentally changed. If anything, now we have an ADA access point there that has a push bar to allow individuals to get out that door, where it previously did not meet the needs of that desire. The front door entry as well is going to be on a timer, so it will avoid maintenance department staff and state courts locking and unlocking that door, which is what occurs. I have, and Joe has, locked that door for the county during normal business hours, as well as on holidays, to avoid the county having to come in those doors or come into the building on holidays to avoid costs. So if we wanted to shift those doors to the county, I have no opposition to that. It's just going to cost the county 15 grand plus the additional integration of the 4,500 that Darris mentioned. So that's up to $20,000 plus the front door integration, which would probably be another $4,500. Fundamentally, the door system doesn't change. There are counties in Oregon where you have a 50-50 split, where the door systems are half on the county and half on the state courts. There's counties in Oregon where the entire door system, including state courts doors, are on the county. And there's courts in Oregon where the entire door system is on state courts. So we're not reinventing the wheel here to partition this off or to space this off. In fact, I am granted access to state court spaces for more county personnel than I'm granted to get into county spaces. So I don't see fundamentally this being a challenge or an issue with providing access or programming access for county users to two of the doors that are mentioned. If anything, it alleviates the cost for the county long term, knowing that we can continue to use court security funds to pay for replacements or issues associated with those doors. Vendor contracts will continue to be an issue, no matter if it's a local contractor or a non-local contractor. To obtain a contractor to get services out is a lift on the South Coast, no matter where you are at. The contractor that we use is contracted to provide this service for every courthouse in Oregon. So it's uniform in terms of what's being installed in Coos County, to Curry County, to Grant County, to Clackamas County. It's the same door installer for all courthouses. So it's uniform in terms of that. It actually puts us in a position where we can have further discussions in years to come about a total door integration into one system to avoid additional costs for the county. If the board chooses to switch those two doors to the county, the state courts does not object. If the board chooses to leave those doors as they're currently installed, I will ensure, the presiding judge will ensure, whomever takes over my position will ensure, whatever county personnel need access to that door, it will be granted.
Thomas, if the state courts installs it and it breaks, who pays to repair it?
I will.
Awesome.
And I just want to mention.
State courts, I don't say I will, I'm sorry. Sorry, John's gonna be like, Thomas, pay for that.
No, I'm gonna invoice you.
State court will pay for that.
Through the years, I mean, I've worked with Thomas on helping fund a lot of the improvements for the county. One of them is the front doors. The new sliding front doors that we installed in the courthouse, state courts paid for half of those doors, along with a lot of our repairs to our elevator. This was kind of an oversight a little bit, because Thomas and I have been working together on a lot of projects. One of them was the move for the cameras and the panic buttons for the courthouse so that we're all on a uniform system. The other one is the fencing project. So we did talk about this north door, or the elections side door, multiple times, looking at whether we were going to have to replace the doors because of the way that they were set up, if we were actually going to be able to do a key access or a door access point on that door. So I think there was some miscommunication there. None of this was intentional, I don't believe. I think it was just a little bit of a miscommunication because we have talked about this door on multiple times through a couple different projects. So, but as far as state courts coming in and paying for, I mean, they have tried to use their funds where they can, when they can, to help the county alleviate some of that budget pressure.
And if we were to take the other action I've gathered, there is money in IT and maintenance that would have to be diverted from other projects to handle. Could be a mild bill, could be a severe bill, correct?
Correct.
But that would not leave money for a future catastrophe this year.
Well, I'd like to add, when Kyle and I build the budget for IT,
Yep.
and I think we can check with her, but I think also for her, there are some unknowns. You know, something could break, something could catch on fire, something. We build money into our budget to address those needs without having to come to you guys and ask for extra funding. If those funds go unused, some years we just release the money back into the budget for the next budget cycle. So I don't know that it's 100% fair to say this is going to take money away from something else, because we do plan for, I actually have a budget line item that's unplanned purchases.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is not a huge amount of money. Again, your decision, whatever you guys decide, I'll support.
I did skip a step. We should probably have a motion in a second for
I'll
discussion.
move that we stay with the,
Oh, that's true, we do.
We don't know what to.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we can continue discussion and then,
Well,
I don't think we have agreement on a motion yet. Yeah.
motions are for.
That is true. What was yours?
Chair's prerogative.
Sure. We can always remove it and do another.
And you can say no to it.
Yeah.
It's a motion, and it can be, yes, we'll do that, or no, we won't.
Okay, what you
But
got?
that allows us to comply with the way meeting's supposed to be run and move ahead. I move that we stay with the state court system for funding this, and I'll explain myself later and apologize for some oversights on our part.
Well, second for discussion.
Motion and a second for discussion. Carry on.
I'll start with the discussion, my reasoning at least. We all know that our county has a budget for this year, but next year we will be in dire straits. And so any money we don't spend this year will carry over in our bank account and be spendable next year. And I know this isn't a lot in the bigger scheme of things, but it's a lot in my mind, just because I think $15,000, $20,000 is a lot of money. I apologize. I think the Board of Commissioners were part of this. It was all explained to us. We didn't think through of all the repercussions. And always like it when someone else is willing to help us take care of costs that we would otherwise take care of. I know that it's simpler when just one entity is responsible, but I have every confidence that we can work together between the county and the courts to make sure that this will all go very, very smoothly, both in terms of getting access in and out of the building, both in terms of, as well as terms of maintenance or whatever. And anyway, it's just a financial situation in which we find ourselves that we need as much help as we can get. I know that we approved pay raises today. But we have to have a priority. It's the people that make this county run. Doors are incidental. And we have to keep our pay competitive. And so that's what we're trying to do without being excessive. And I think we've succeeded in that. So it isn't a deal, well, you can give people raises and you can't do this. Well, there's a reason for that. So that explains my rationale. And I am so proud of our maintenance department. I'm not putting it down. I don't want to take away anything from you, but I'm a cheap bastard and we need the money. So I'm going to go for the state's money.
So,
Commissioner Sweet,
Darris, I'm
sorry,
wondering
Commissioner.
if, I heard Thomas specifically use the phrase authorized user, I believe, was the phrase he used. And I'm wondering, this might address you as well, Thomas. As authorized user, does that impart any administrative limitations to IT that would impact county operations? Darris?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think between us, we can work out, that IT has the access they need. Currently, the way it works is the county does everything for all doors managed in the county, and then state courts lets us know if any of their employees need access to, like, the mailroom or the employee entrance. What this will create now is it's a two-way, because the county manages some exterior doors. So now we're going to have to put them, but then we're going to have to submit a request back the other way. So it's going to create additional administrative resources. I don't think it's going to be huge, I like that old KISS rule, keep it simple, you know what, right? Just
Right,
the fewer moving pieces, the fewer things that can go wrong.
right. Unfortunately, sometimes these fiscal challenges can introduce other challenges that cascade, and that can be sort of beyond our control. Thomas, what I would ask you is there a model under which the IT department could be an authorized user and have no limitations on administrative needs that come up regarding that lock? Aside from, I mean, I assume if there's actual service on the lock or replacement of the lock, that would have to go through state courts, but is it possible, conceivable from your perspective to provide authorization for anything else that we would need to do when state courts is not available?
Sorry, Commissioner Taylor, I took a pause there. I was thinking about whether or not the system would allow for another user to log in remotely and what obstacles I would get from my central IT department for allowing additional non-court users to log into that system. I don't have a direct answer on that, to be frank. I can find out how that would work. I will tell you that north door currently only has, I think, 4 individuals that have access to it. And they only have access by a physical hard key. So that will change once we add the fencing project. We would have to program everyone in. In terms of adding individuals in, we're in the building every single day. The county's there, besides one day each. So courts are open the day after Thanksgiving. County's closed. The other day is June 19th. State courts are closed, the county's open. Adding a user is a 5-minute activity that I have 3 IT staff that could do that in 5 minutes. So I don't see that being a hurdle. I will get an answer for Darius and Kyla, and if the board wants to know that answer, I'll provide it to them as well about external user access into the system and what that would look like.
So one other point that comes to mind is that, we all have access to the back courtyard door. So if somebody needs to get in, we can get in that way.
I believe that'll be restricted once the fencing goes up. What I was told is that would be restricted once the fencing goes up.
Restricted to whom?
So the way the fencing project is set up, it's going to be covering half of the rear parking lot, and there's going to be a gate that's going across that rear courtyard, or the U that is in the courthouse. So there's going to be an ability to exit the building for fire purposes, but to come back in, there's not going to be a keyless access to enter that gated area to access that rear door.
So if one of the commissioners wants to get into the courthouse for some reason or needs to after hours, that won't be possible.
You would now have access either through the north door, which is the election side door, or possibly we're looking at actually entering or putting possibly a door scanner at the front door as well. And then there's also there's service maintenance and entrance and maintenance.
I'm pretty sure the clerk won't want us coming in through the clerk's door.
It's not the clerk's door,
not.
so it's the elections
Isn't it
door. It
companion
takes you right into the elections hallway.
Oh, okay. I
That's
heard
that's
elections
this
door
north
in
door.
it.
No, by.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
Gotcha.
that north door right there.
Okay.
Commissioner Taylor,
We did address
Commissioner
that
Taylor,
there would
to-
be a problem once the fencing project is done.
Yeah, Thomas.
Commissioner Taylor, we would just grant you your card access to that side door, the north door. So you would just come in the building on the north door. So
Yeah.
7 o'clock at night, you park over by the county clerk and the elections office north door, and you would enter the facility that way. The reality is I would think we would also, in partnership with the sheriff, give all 3 commissioners access to the gated area. parking spots during the day, because those would likely have to be spots that are identified for specific individuals. But I would believe the commissioners would get access to the gated area. So after hours, they could come in and park in the back gated parking lot as well and enter the building that way. We're still waiting for the final project plan, I think, Kyla, if I'm not mistaken, on the gate. And then we have to really dive into how the spots are going to be designated in partnership with our DA and the sheriff to designate those spots back there. But Commissioner, you would have access to the building. It's your building. And so whatever county users or state court users need access, I don't see it fundamentally changing other than who grants it and us just making sure it happens. I've never had an issue with the county granting access to one of my staff, and don't believe the county would have any issue with us granting the county access to a door that's theirs, other than we're maintaining it and paying the cost for any failure on that door.
Okay, thank you, Thomas.
And I do want to
You're
note
welcome.
that at any point in time, if this did become an issue, we would be looking at doing the same thing we're talking about doing today, which would be changing the actual hardware and the wiring into the county system. So if this ever became an issue, that is always something we could look at down the road, tomorrow, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years. I mean, none of this is so permanent that it cannot ever be changed. And we do have other access doors. I mean, there's the DA's door. We have the service maintenance entrance, the sheriff's department door. This is just the side door.
We've covered a lot of ground. I share the perspectives. I'm not as concerned. Colton's not here to stop me, so if it ever became a problem where the state decided to lock us out of our own building, I'm sure we can fly the Jolly Roger and make entry.
We'll figure out a way in.
It'll work.
That is never going to happen.
I've got a hard crowbar. Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Alrighty. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Darius.
Not what you
Thanks
were
for bringing it to our
aiming for,
attention.
but yep.
Can I add one thing? I want to apologize to Darius and Kyla and the board for any oversight or miscommunication that we had from the courts. It was never our intent to step on anyone's toes or to cause any issues. If anything, the intent is to alleviate costs and burden to the county. At every door that I can open, in any corner that I turn, I try to alleviate costs for the county, knowing that the county is in a position where fiscal needs are vast, and revenue is just not there. I live in a world where I could see the state helping the county cover the cost for all access readers. There is a world that I live in that could happen. It's not the world today, but I do want to apologize for any miscommunication that I had or the courts had for the county.
Well, we know you've done a lot to bring money in so it doesn't cost our budget. And if we could, I'm sure we would deny your transfer to the next county. But, I guess you're allowed to leave.
I'm leaving, but I'm not far away. And whoever takes my place, if you're not happy with something they're doing, you can call me anytime.
And trust me, I ask for money from the state all the time. Thomas can vouch for that.
Excellent. Alrighty.
Thanks,
That'll
everyone.
Take us to the consent calendar.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion and a second. All discussion. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. That'll take us to commissioner reports. And I figure if everyone's amenable, we have staff that would probably like to get back to their offices if they would choose to do so. So, yeah, if you'd like to. Or listen to us drone on.
All right.
Start with Rod.
Well, let's see. Work continues at the fairgrounds. Preparations for the fair are going swimmingly. I was down there most of the day yesterday, and a lot of volunteers on site
Some of the temporary paid help started yesterday, and we're really looking forward to an awesome fair. If there is anyone in my hearing who has a little bit of time available that they might be able to allocate as a volunteer and has the capability to drive a golf cart taxi, we have 4 of them. You may remember the old train that used to run around and transport people from the grounds out to parking and so forth. And a couple years ago, for cost considerations, the Fair Board decided to buy some high-capacity golf carts instead. And the return on investment for that was about 18 months. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. So we have these 4 nice golf carts to be able to move a number of people around. I think they have an 8-person capacity, if I recall correctly. And there is a need for some more volunteers to drive those in 2-hour shifts. So, or they're 4-hour shifts, excuse me. So anybody is willing, please reach out to me. I can put you in touch with the right person to get you on that schedule. And thanks to Commissioner Sweet for the work he's done, beautifying things down there with some flowers and some other landscape improvements. And so let's see, I think that's about the only thing significance I have over the last 2 weeks, except to mention the 250th celebration of the Declaration of Independence, which is a foundational document for the United States of America to stand on its own 2 feet, independent of any other nation or any crown. And I'm grateful for that.
Agreed.
That's all I have.
Yep.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Just more about the fair. I think our fair board and the volunteers we have just done a remarkable job of improving the fairgrounds, not just this year, but over the past several years, and I know they'll continue. Rod's done a fabulous job of assisting with that. Look forward to this year's fair. I hope you go down and see what all's been done. The grounds are significantly improved. And
When does it start?
The fair?
Yeah.
What's the date here?
On the 21st.
21st of July, it opens. It's a Tuesday. And I don't know whether the merry-go-round and other stuff like that are going on Tuesday or not. You might want to wait a day.
The carnival starts on Wednesday, I believe.
Wednesday, yeah. So, yeah, please go. It's just amazing. We have 1 county employee and 1 county employee only assigned to the fair. Everything else is volunteer work, grant money. The fair's fairly largely self-supporting, and there's a lot of new stuff going on down there. We do have part-time employees, of course, during fair grounds, picking up trash and emptying the trash barrels, stuff like that we have to have. But it's amazing what happens with such great volunteers.
Hey, one more comment, Mr. Chair, and that is to make note for everybody that our next BOC meeting will not be on Tuesday, the 21st. It will be on that Monday, the 20th. So
Good catch.
Moving of that.
Yep. Okay. For my part, I was at the Association of Counties legislative retreat last week, so we had meetings discussing what the legislative priorities will be in this next session. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on money, making sure that the recent change to transient lodging tax allocations are maintained so that counties and cities that need to can change their formula to get more of the tourist dollars into their general fund. Let's see. There's a lot of discussions around potential formula allocations and changes to how revenues come to counties, either around property tax or I've got a meeting coming up with the chair of governance and revenue to discuss what I've talked about, getting a percentage of income tax back from the state. It will go to a ballot measure, I'm sure. There's no way in hell the state's going to willingly give up its income tax revenues to local governments. Right now, none of it comes to us except for the contracts we end up with. But that's moving along. It'll be a large work group. It's not imminent, but it is, I think, the best solution moving forward. Also, readiness. We're having discussions about the Association of Counties having a meeting either the last day or the last week of the legislative session. Folks might remember in this last legislative session, after the transportation bill died, the legislature took a 1/2 page on a speed bump study and crammed 56 pages of the transportation bill into it, cut out cities and counties so it would purely benefit the state, and we found out on about 3 hours' notice. Now, coincidentally, 20 of us were up there for county college, so we skipped the rest of the day and went to the Capitol, and they stalled that meeting for 2.5 hours. The governor was submitting support letters an hour after the meeting was supposed to happen. It was a mess. We scared the pee out of people, and we want to make sure we're ready to do it again if they pull something similar this year. Discussion happened around Oregon State Police and their mission set. So, nutshell, I was able to provide some numbers. Last year, our sheriff's department responded to over 21,000 calls. The year prior, the state police, who also include part of Douglas and part of Curry County, responded to less than 5,000 calls. So there's discussion of how do we push on the legislature to enforce a mission set change on the Oregon State Police so that they support local communities more than less than a quarter as much as ours do. See, got to catch up with one of the commissioners. One of the commissioners out of Multnomah was actually helping us trying to pursue a high-intensity drug trafficking area designation. He and I had a conversation about how maritime drug smuggling overtook land-based back in 2023. He saw the benefits of if Coos County had that designation, it could help the metro area as well, because we would be another blockade against drugs coming up from the south. And then I had some discussions around the Oregon Military Department. They plan to have a higher presence at the legislature this year. And I was sitting there on my phone a minute ago sending them a text because I want to know what equipment they're providing us for the fair. I've been giving them hassle about that. I told them I want a tank. They laughed. I told them I'll settle for a Bradley. We'll see what we get. And the Coast Guard is planning to bring a boat.
Didn't you try that trick last year?
I did, and if you come in my office, that's why there is a toy set of a chopper with heavy equipment on it, because the National Guard bought me that instead. But this year I've been helping them try and expand their housing programs and connecting them with the Coast Guard, and I've been able to do more work with them, so I'm more optimistic they'll at least bring some cool guns to look at.
Nice.
And that's my stuff. We can move into public comments. Phil, you had the first. You're good. You already commented a bit today. David?
Pass.
Alrighty. Jim? We're going to go down the list and we'll get to you if you're not on the list. There's somebody behind you. You can go, though. You're up. Sorry.
I'm easily confused.
I have my doubts about that.
You know, Drew, you've turned out to be a better commissioner than I frankly thought you were going to be.
I appreciate it.
Me too. I second that motion.
I've enjoyed working with you.
You know, I, through a lot of effort, submitted a really, I thought, good proclamation prohibiting all this consensus crap, as I've said ad nauseum, which is highly unconstitutional, and you refused to adopt it. You know, I get the feeling that Salem's just running roughshod still over us. I think if they wanted to do one of those data centers here, I think they'd get away with it. I think they just run roughshod over us. And that part doesn't speak well. I think courage is probably the best trait that we need in our representation. So regarding the bike camp thing again, I'm just going to remind you that this decision came from NGOs and agencies that are not from Coos County for a project that's for people, by definition, that aren't from Coos County. And you know, there's legality, which from what I gather, you're only required to notify people 750 feet away from the project. But you know, there's legality and then there's doing the right thing. You know, I was kind of placated into thinking that, oh no, there'll be genuine, legitimate public input from the neighborhood. There was none. I've talked to 6 or 8 people and nobody got a notice. I was told that I got a notice in my mail. I don't want to use the word lie, but nobody got any notices. I still don't understand how anyone can approve something like that on that road. I'm going to be generating a public records request. I want to know what criteria the roadmaster used to arrive at that, if there's any strings attached to the grant. And, you know, you were elected to benefit the community. And I really don't know what benefit that bike camp has to the community. I understand the revenue part, but I think it pales in comparison to how it's going to change our neighborhood, which has been turning into kind of there's a lot of construction. It's turning into kind of a high-end, a nicer high-end area. There's a lot of I've already told you this. That's the access to the dump. There's a lot of construction vehicles. There's clueless tourists and big vehicles. Not a smart move. As far as I'm concerned, I'd love to see you just stop the idea and turn it into parking for the bike camp. They have to cross the street for most of they have to cross that dangerous street to get to most of the trails. And my question is, what is the plan for that butchered big hill that's just west of the bike camp site across the street? I see that there's small seedlings being that were, what is that for?
Production forest.
Okay, so there's no plans to expand a bike camp there or anything like that?
Homeless.
Homeless, yeah. Well, you know, there's a brand of homeless that just stays in the woods and stuff. I've seen him walk, you know, running my dogs and everything. And, you know, that bike camp could be a good little home base. Anyway, I've shared with you before. I don't think you need to be a civil engineer to know it's a really bad idea. And I'm going to be trying to figure out how you arrived at it and went along with it. Anyway, thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. And next we had Jim.
That'd be Tim Pierce.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, I'm kind of like an inflamed boil on the buttocks of Coos County at times, but anyway.
You're not alone. It's fine.
I kind of had to go along with Jim's comment about you, Commissioner Farmer. You're a little better than I thought you were going to be.
Not much, though.
Well, you know, everybody's got a little room for improvement. First off, I'm going to go back to the same question I asked the last time I was here about non-disclosure agreements, because I know that Mr. Sweet over here didn't like that question. You know,
I don't remember not liking it.
Well, I do, because the minute after Mr. Farmer said something, you pump the brakes on this baby and refused to answer. Now, it isn't like you don't answer questions. You're selective about what questions you answer. So, once again, I'd like to ask that question. Have you ever entered into a non-disclosure agreement with a government or non-government entity?
Still me.
Which you actually said. The next question I'd like to ask, which I'm sure you will refuse to answer, is when would you answer that question in front of a camera? See,
We are in front of a camera.
I know, but he ain't answering it. You see, that's my point. Now, the next thing I'd like to move on to here.
Again, this is why I normally don't answer.
I know, but occasionally you do. But you'd be very selective. The other thing that I want to question is, you guys said something about that, the old idea of where the bike camp was going to be there. It's a little odd that I see these windrows kind of stacked up there with trees planted along them. They never reforest that way normally. You go check it out. You know, somebody's kidding somebody on that one. I ain't sure what's going on there.
What do you mean windrows?
Well, they're like rows of dirt that go long mounds.
Okay.
And there's trees planted. They never do that out there when they reforestate, but they're doing it there. And not only that, about I don't know, a month or so ago, they were out there spraying gorse right along that part there too, which they don't normally do. So I think there's something peculiar going on there.
I know we entered into an agreement with Bandon to do more gorse abatement because
Yeah.
we don't want things to burn down, and gorse is good at that.
Yeah, but well, we'll wait and see. I think that's a little special there. But
Okay.
what I really wanted to talk about is a bit of a scam here. When you go to build a house here, or not just in Coos County, but all throughout the state, you have to get all these permits. These permits are taxes, even though they like to call them fees because they're progressive, just like your electric permit, depending on how many breakers you got. The price escalates on it. The crazy thing about all this is this is added onto the value of your home, and you are taxed on the tax you paid to build your house forever. That's a bit of a scam, isn't it?
Well, yes.
Yeah. I mean, what more can you say?
I wouldn't call it a scam, but I'm agreeing that it continues.
Not only that, this tax scam of doing all this, the lion's share of it probably should be done by banks and insurance companies and not by the county. After all, they're the ones that put up the money and
Are you
insure.
saying banks should do permitting?
Well, they might. The state may set codes and all that, but you know, as far as building inspection and stuff like that, that should be done by the people putting up the money that have money at risk. See, the problem is the inspectors. I've seen them more than one time and give the green light on something that was wrong. My neighbors around the corner, when they built added on to their house a garage, the floor was as flat as a pancake, although to code it must be sloped so the carbon monoxide goes out the doors. Yeah, and it's just stuff like this that goes on. This is why I said this is, if that had been done in the private sector, the inspector who did that probably would have lost his job or at least been spanked for it a little bit. But this thing about adding the tax onto all these building fees and everything is crazy, because this also ups the ante of these value of these people's house, but then it ups the value of their neighbor's house, even though you see on the resale of their house too.
Yeah, Oregon modifies how the taxes work a little because it measures 5 and 50, but I see your point.
And I mean, the next question I really have to ask is, how many times should we be taxed on our property?
Yeah.
I've paid more in property tax on my house than I did for buying the house. And now the last thing about this I want to point out too, I was raised in Portland, and we used to have a really good school system, not anymore.
We forgive you.
But we talked about the evils of communism even in like 4th and 5th grade and stuff like that. 2 center planks on the communist platform are property taxes and confiscation of property for not paying the taxes. Think about that. Thank you.
Okay. Next one we have Don Gurney. Don, I see you. Say again?
Let him go first.
I don't know who you are. Jeremy Miller is next.
Yeah, that's
oh, you're
Jeremy.
Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
I think I don't have my 3 minutes there.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning,
Jeremy. I am Jeremy Miller, citizen of Coos County, and I thank you for your time today. I'd like to briefly outline 2 citizen initiatives that I've been working on that together offer a practical solution to Coos County's most pressing public safety concerns. The first I call Coos County Public Safety and Adequate Jail Capacity Ordinance. The Coos County currently operates with severely limited jail capacity, approximately 49 beds. This has led to chronic overcrowding, average daily populations of 50 to 52, and over 100 emergency releases a month, compared to just 7 emergency releases before the recent reduction. This measure would immediately restore and maintain a minimum of 98 operational beds. It would require a plan to reach 150 beds within 5 years. It would prioritize public safety funding in the general fund budget and protect core jail operations from cuts until non-essential areas are reduced first. It would mandate annual transparent reporting on capacity, releases, and spending for the jail. Adequate local jail capacity is fundamental to public safety, deterrence, and justice, and this ordinance gives the sheriff and the county the tools and funding needed to protect our community. Second, North Bay Urban Renewal Dissolution and Taxpayer Protection Ordinance. For nearly 40 years, the North Bay Urban Renewal area has diverted millions in tax increment revenues away from the county general fund. This measure would direct the prompt dissolution of the North Bay Urban Renewal Area under state law, ORS Chapter 457. It would require voter approval for any new county urban renewal districts or major expansions. It would redirect future tax increment revenues to the general fund with a priority for public safety to include the sheriff, jail operations, and DA's office. Any remaining funds available would go to property tax relief. This would require annual public reporting on the use of those revenues. Coos County deserves safe streets and responsible use of tax dollars. These two initiatives end decades of tax diversion. They would restore essential jail capacity, prioritize public safety, and give voters a stronger voice. They're practical, they're financially responsible solutions that protect our families without raising taxes. I'm happy to work through any issues that you may see with the prospective measures, and I respectfully ask for your support and eventual referral of both prospective measures to the voters of Coos County. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll just make a note. I think the urban renewal district on North Spit defers $46,000 a year, correct? That would have otherwise
It's
been
over
in the general fund?
300,000.
You're thinking all of the URAs.
No.
Am I off here, Megan?
From what I've seen, it's over 300,000 a year.
No,
I don't think that's correct.
46,000.
And one pod is $1.2 million.
Yeah.
All
So I'm going to refrain from any comments in light of our meeting this
Absolutely.
afternoon, and I'll discuss these at length with you, at whatever length necessary.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll get drilled down on it.
Okay.
I appreciate the thoughts. I
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
you and I have had our differences, but this is a nice thing that you've done. I don't know it's workable, but we need to have more opportunities to look at things like this and explain why they would work or not.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
And bringing forth proposals that you've thought through and crafted and doing it the way that you've done it is exactly the kind of citizen involvement that we need more of. So
I agree.
yeah, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for
Thank
it,
you.
Jeremy.
Thanks.
I'll look forward to seeing you at 1:30.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah. And Don,
You want to go to lunch?
say again?
You want to go to lunch?
We are getting pretty close, but you're the last on the list.
I don't know.
It's okay, I'll keep you sharp.
Can I tell you?
I think so. Does the mic work there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Phil, remind me next time. You can sit if you want.
Okay.
I'll even,
I'm not as old as Doc.
we'll put you in that chair and I'll push you over.
No one is.
I'm Don Gurney from Myrtle Point, and good morning.
Morning.
Morning,
Morning.
Don.
Still morning.
Still,
Just barely.
thanks for your patience.
I'm here, I was at the last meeting 2 weeks ago, and I looked at the agenda items, and I seen where the road department is gonna do some major work up in the northern part of the county. So I went to the roadmaster and asked him, when are you gonna do some work on the southern part of the county? He looked at me and he says, what do you mean? I says, well, specifically the Coos Bay Wagon Road. He says, what about it? And I said, is it ever gonna be on your agenda? And he says, well, maybe. I says, isn't there quite a few problems on the Coos Bay Wagon Road? Yeah, there's a slide here and a slide there and a slide there. I says, I know. There's probably 8, 10, 12 slides on the Coos Bay Wagon Road. It's been that way for years. I says, when's that time they're gonna work on it? He said, I don't know. I said, well, If you don't know, I don't know why you have extra money if you don't know what you're gonna do with it. He said, oh yeah, we need the money. And I said, well, that's nice, I'm glad you do. But I'm not happy because of the way the road is. I says, for 29 years, we've transferred money from the taxpayers of the district of the Cooks Bay Wagon Road to the road department to repair roads. I guess they repaired roads, but I haven't seen it. So I'm here to ask, why are we giving you money to repair roads when they don't repair the Cooks Bay Wagon Road? They're the ones who forfeited their tax money to do this. I was responsible for this 29 years ago, and I don't think I've done the right thing. So what I've done, I reviewed the 1919 Act of the transfer of the privately owned lands and Cooks Bay Wagon Road lands to the federal government. And I have a copy of it, and I won't go and read it or anything about it, but the main thing about it is I made a mistake by recommending to the county commissioners at that time that they had the authority to transfer this money to whatever part they wanted. The question is, where did the money come from? The agreement in the 1919 Act to transfer the privately owned land, the Cooks Bay Wagon Road, to the federal government was due to the fact that the Southern Oregon Company went to the Supreme Court and says, we've had it for 45 years and we don't need to be going through this thing of being transferred away from us. And then when the Supreme Court come back and said to both parties, says, you guys make an agreement about how you want to do it. And so they did. And it was agreed upon that the Southern Oregon Company owed the county 7 years of back taxes, and the government would pay for it.
If we can get to where we're headed.
Where headed is remove the money that you are drawing from the Cooks Bay Wagon Road grant lands
Okay.
back to the where it belongs, is to the people of the taxing districts.
Okay.
Second part of my quick one, you will find when you do the 1919 Act that if you transfer that over to be a better improvement, the money goes to the taxing district. It doesn't go to the county. And if you don't believe me, read it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Don.
That was the list. Do we have anybody from the floor? Anybody online? Seeing none? Meeting. Wait.
That's something up there?
That's us.
That's a comment.
Oh, there was a comment.
Yeah, Julie was thanking you for acknowledging elections in the discussion about the door lock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.